Hey, howdy everyone. Welcome to your 2019 Saturn Slammies. We are back with another year of awards, and 2019 was certainly a year in wrestling. It was not a great year in wrestling. There were not as many candidates for some of the award categories as there have been in years past.
Mm-hmm.
But
Just not a down year by any stretch.
no, if you are a fan of NXT, you had a pretty good year. AEW launched. They've had some good matches. New Japan had a very strong 2019 that I did not watch much of. But we're back with our usual awards categories. We got them all lined up and ready to go. And we will start, as usual, with Male Superstar of the Year. And I have never had an easier time picking my Male Superstar of the Year as I did this year. I will give a brief honorable mention to Chris Jericho and Jon Moxley, who were runners-up for this award. But I must award this to one Adam Cole.
Baby. I'm with you there. Adam Cole has had what a fucking spectacular year for this man.
This man has a fucking resume this year that is without parallel. Great matches against Daniel Bryan, against Johnny Gargano, against Matt Riddle, against Pete Dunne in the War Games match. Everything the man touched turned to gold, including his faction, which held all the belts currently in NXT. Just very. We've given out quite a few of these awards, and Jon Moxley was almost a two-time winner under a different name. I just realized because he won in 2017. But I don't think it's ever been so cut and dry. I didn't watch a lot of New Japan. I understand Will Ospreay had a really great year in terms of match quality. But Adam Cole had a lot of great matches too, and his character work was really good. So, I think that's very important, personally.
He's reached a high stage of development.
Yes, he
Perhaps even archetypal at this point.
Right. So, we got our next award category, which is
Female Star of the Year.
There were a lot of good choices for Female Star of the Year this year. My answer would have been different were it not for a very late surge by a blonde-haired Aussie woman who just came out of nowhere and wrested this away from Io Shirai, who had been holding it for most of the year, in my eyes. And Rhea Ripley, goddamn, coming out of fucking nowhere.
She's got a fucking. Some people get a rocket strapped to their ass. She's riding a fucking V2 missile to the top here.
She came out on that one episode of NXT to challenge Shayna Baszler and was instantly a bigger star than anyone in AEW, really.
Yeah.
And she got pushed super hard. A little too hard in some spots. I didn't care for the Women's War Games where they won 4-on-2. But that match against Shayna Baszler at the end of the year was the best women's match I've seen since, in terms of story. Maybe not in terms of work rate, but in terms of story, it was the best women's match I've seen since Sasha and Bayley at TakeOver Brooklyn won way back in 2015.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I was thinking, that was in 2015. Was that before I was watching?
Yes, that was slightly before you started.
Because the only
early 2016.
I guess the only match I have that's comparable even was Ember Moon and Asuka.
Yes, also great match, great story.
This is up there. It's not just up there. It is firmly in the pantheon of top tier women's matches.
Yes. again, like, there might have been some deficiencies in the work rate. I remember I was watching with Diane, who's a very casual fan, and in the middle of the match, she turns to me and is like, is it bad that I like this less than I like the men's match? I'm like, no, but wait for it. It'll get better. And by the end, she was super into the finish. So they won her over, and if you can win the casual fans over, you're doing your job right. And as Peter said when we reviewed this match, if you don't react when Rhea Ripley grabs the ref's collar to avoid tapping out, then you don't like wrestling.
It's true. It's just fact. Oh, good TV.
So, despite Peter and I not conferring on any of these awards, we are so far 2 for 2 in awarding the same category. And I suspect that will continue with what's our next category? You have the list in front of you.
Tag team of the year.
Well, I know I've given this award to them once before, but repeat winners deserve it. I gotta give it to the Undisputed Era. Just the body of work across. I mean, if you want to roll it out to all 4 members, then it's no contest. But even just like Fish and O'Reilly's matches, they had great matches against the Revival. They made the Street Profits look really credible. And just every time they get thrown in there with another team, they look very impressive. They had a good match against, I guess Roddy subbed in, but they had a great match against Dijakovic and Keith Lee.
Well, I mean, isn't that also a mark, like, in their favor that they can just, like, here, we're going to change around the team composition, and it'll still be fantastic.
Yeah, like, when Bobby Fish got injured the other year, and Roderick Strong slotted into the Undisputed Era when he joined the Undisputed Era, you know, like, they went on a really great run. He and Fish, O'Reilly, and Strong, and they were arguably a more fun tag team to watch than Fish and O'Reilly were. And Fish and O'Reilly are a great tag team. So, like, you don't lose anything by switching them around. In fact, you know, you arguably make a stronger combination. And, like, they won in 2018 for a reason, too, because they had fucking fantastic matches with every other tag team on the roster. I never feel the need. I never even, like, look at my watch or my phone when an Undisputed Era tag match is going on, which is very rare because I have ADHD and I'm easily distracted. So if they can hold my attention, then they can hold anyone's attention.
Just incredible. Just another lovely year. Next category.
3 for 3.
3 for 3. Yep.
Psychic.
I was gonna say some mentions about definitely not champ worthy, but good job, Street Profits.
Street Profits had a breakout year for sure.
Yep. And I'll, Peter from 2018 will be fucking eating my words on this, but like, Forgotten Sons aren't bad now.
Very good developmental year for the Forgotten Sons as well. I'd say if we had a category for most improved team, it would be the Forgotten Sons. But we don't.
They turned that corner. Next up, match of the year.
Another. I feel easy one. I don't know. This is definitely the best match I've ever seen live, and maybe the best match I've ever seen. Certainly up there with the Taker versus Shawn of the world, and that's perhaps the highest praise I could possibly give a match. But Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano, 2 out of 3 falls and Takeover New York was that damn good.
Yes, it was. Not even like. The energy when you were there
in the building live for that was absolutely nuts. Jesus Christ would not have been as over as Adam Cole was on that day. And by the end of the match, people were into Johnny Gargano winning. That's 2 professionals who really had the crowd. Granted, we were salty and we laughed as soon as that.
I know, that's one of my small regrets on that night. But
I don't regret it because we caught the train that we needed to catch.
That's actually very true. That was a good move. Yeah, just fantabulous.
Like, it was
start bell to bell to
bell to
bell to
bell,
bell to bell.
fucking fantastic. The first match was a beautiful straight wrestling match that went like 15 minutes before Adam Cole won with the last shot. Second fall was a little bit quicker. Gargano got the Gargano escape in, and Cole immediately tapped out to save himself for the third fall. And then the third fall came out. The Undisputed Era got involved. Fucking Adam Cole had a fairy tale ending for the announce table. The one gripe in this match is that I think Johnny Gargano kicked out of one or two too many moves.
Yes.
Which keeps it from being perfect. But this was the first match we've ever reviewed where I broke the 5-star scale to award it, which is something that I really never wanted to do, but I felt compelled to do so after watching this match. Really, it's far and away the best match this year, and probably the best match, if I'm being honest, probably the best match we've ever reviewed during the time of the show, which goes back to summer of 2016.
There would not doubt
good matches in 2016.
Yes.
So, like, kudos to them. Best.
Amazing. This was, saying that is including Gargano versus Almas.
And the Revival versus DIY from TakeOver Toronto, also 2 out of 3 falls, coincidentally. The Shield versus, the Shield triple threat. And honorable mention I want to give to Kofi Kingston versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania this year. That was a really great story coming to fruition there. That was a special moment. I'm glad we went to WrestleMania simply for, like, we got to witness a true WrestleMania moment, not a hokey one that they try to manufacture, but, like, I think in terms of, like, that was probably the purest WrestleMania moment since WrestleMania 31 with Seth Rollins' heist of the century / the curb stomp RKO counter. And then you have to go back 1 year further to WrestleMania 14 with Daniel Bryan winning the big one. But, like, that's going back a ways, and to be in the building for a moment that special was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Very glad to be there. Match of the year. This is not a category, but we don't need to deliberate on this. It's so easy. I just need to mention it here. It's the law of equivalent exchange. For every match of the year, we have to have a disappointment of the year, a Garbo fire of the year, and to have a match as fire as Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole, best out of 3 falls match. We truly have created a real monster from the depths of wrestling hell. And I'm of course referring to the worst match of the year, which was the Fiend versus Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
At Hell in a Cell.
I don't know what you had for most 2019 match of the year, but this was certainly a strong contender for that because it was very emblematic of all the bad booking that 2019 represented. Seth versus The Fiend, Hell in a Cell, was a match that had no business happening in the first place, and destroyed any hope they had of Seth Rollins lasting as a babyface. And to think, like, we were in the building at WrestleMania when he beat Brock Lesnar for the title. Dude was over. And to think that we'd be sitting here a scant 9 months later, and he'd have been
the child he birthed was
so heavily to have been forced to turn back heel is mind-blowing. It really is. But he a lot of that's on him. I mean, obviously the company didn't help him out by having him feud with Baron Corbin for 3 months and then immediately into a feud with The Fiend. But he didn't help himself out with some of the stupid shit he said on Twitter. Didn't endear himself to anyone.
That match though, that was the one. I mean, that was the one that said we're never watching pay-per-views from main roster for a good couple years.
I have not watched TLC. TLC is the first pay-per-view since I subscribed to the WWE Network in 2015 that I have not even watched a single match from, which goes to show.
What did we miss?
How? I guess a good match between Aleister Black and Buddy Murphy, but I got other things to do with my time than to go back and watch that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At least Aleister Black got a match. That's nice to hear.
They've been pushing him a little bit, from what I hear.
Okay.
Which is smart. I'm watching you, WWE. I know you're trying to lure me back in, but I'm wary now.
Yeah, what's the payoff if I start going back again? Are you going to give me another fucking rock in a hard place situation that you've solved in the worst way possible? We don't need to go over this match again. Yeah, how fucking true.
You got my blood boiling. You saw it, and then you're like, no, let's cut it off. We gotta get the bag.
We have more good things to celebrate this year.
This is a celebration.
Celebrate the show of the year.
All right, well, if the show that had... What if I told you the show that had our match of the year also had a 4+ star match between Ricochet, Aleister Black, and the the War Raiders, and a near 4-star match between Matt Riddle and the Velveteen Dream, and a near 4-star match between Walter and Pete Dunne, and a pretty good women's fatal 4-way, including Shayna Baszler, Io Shirai, Kairi Sane, and Bianca Belair. Would that not be an easy choice for show of the year?
I think so.
It's NXT TakeOver New York.
So good. Was this the debut of Walter?
I think it was his first match in NXT.
We saw it. It was Blackpool, right?
Yes, where he came out on Blackpool. When we reviewed Blackpool, I was like, this man made his entrance. I knew everything I needed to know about him as a man and as a father and as a politician,
as a clergyman, and he really showed it off in this. And again, just one of the fucking cavalcade of disgustingly good matches.
This was a fire show top to bottom. The energy in the building was nuts the whole way through. It was a hot ticket, and we had great seats the whole time. You can actually kind of see where we are. We were in we were on opposite the hard camera, like in the back behind like a little bit of the Titantron. You can actually kind of see the general area where we're seating. I think if I went back and paused it, I could probably come up with a pretty good estimate of where we are.
General area, yeah.
But we had great seats for a great show. Being there live definitely enhanced the experience, but I have since gone back and watched the show on tape, and I stand by it. This is the show of the year. And spookily, we are 5 for 5 in our awards category.
I mean, what's shown fucking radiated brilliance.
Yeah. I mean, like... I said to Peter like earlier today, I'm like, I don't know about you, but this was like the easiest time I ever had coming up with winners for this.
Yeah. Just radiation and brilliance. Maybe these last two, we might diverge a little bit. I don't know.
Diverge a little bit, but I'm happy that we've awarded the majority to the same, because that is tradition. We often have debates about what's going to be match of the year.
Minor. I know this one we might diverge on the feud of the year, just because mine's a little unorthodox.
Okay.
But we'll talk about it. What you have for your feud of the year, Kurt?
My feud of the year, of course, has to be Bobby Lashley and Rusev. No, I'm totally kidding. I have to give it
divorce proceedings to.
This is tough because Gargano versus Cole feels like the obvious choice here. But you have Cole and Ciampa on the back burner being a really good story too. I think I have to give it to Cole versus Gargano just because it carried NXT through 3 takeovers. And granted, their last takeover match kind of jumped the shark in a couple places. The 3 stages of hell.
Yep.
With the super gimmicky cage. But they had the match of the year in their first match. They had a great match at TakeOver 25. And then they had still a pretty good match at whatever the other takeover was. I forget, Chicago, I think.
Yes.
So that's 3+ matches and some good storytelling, which you can kind of weave Ciampa into that story a little bit too. I mean, their feud has really carried NXT television for the majority of the year, so I guess I have to give it to that. I mean, I could go abstract and say that AEW versus NXT has been feud of the year. But I think I will stick with a more traditional award choice and give it to Cole and Gargano.
Mine's not as outlandish as the network feud, but my feud of the year was the Undisputed Era versus All the Gold. They made their promise in the beginning of the year that by the end of the year they would be draped in gold, and that was a through line that I followed and I was invested in the entire time, even up to the end of the year when Roddy issued his open challenge. I'm like, are you gonna fucking drop the belt on Christmas after holding it for half a year? Please, come on, guys.
Now,
but they didn't.
They missed an opportunity on the Christmas show to have someone like be running their mouth, and then the Undisputed Era be out there. It's like, you're getting Cole for Christmas, and then they have a match against Adam Cole.
That's too nice.
Slight missed opportunity on that one, but
they'll get it next year.
They'll get it next year.
So that was one that I was super invested in, and I was like, they did it. I was very happy. This leads directly into my most 2019 match of the year, which was the main event of the debut show of NXT on TV, which was also the time that I believe it was Roddy, right? He got the gold, Roddy, and that completed
beat Velveteen Dream in the TV main event on USA.
Yes.
There was another hour of the show on the WWE Network, but that's besides the point.
Right. For me, I chose this one because it encapsulates a lot of different things. It encapsulates, the big players this year, the big storyline this year. Like, as I said, for me, it was them getting the gold. It also encompasses the TV debut and the return in whatever capacity of the Monday night, or the Wednesday night wars, with our first rival, our big bald rival brand in a long time in the form of AEW.
I was going to go the other way with my match of the year and pick Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch versus Lacey Evans and Baron Corbin from, I think, Extreme Rules, as emblematic of how WWE killed all interest in their product for 3 months by having those two feuds extend for so long. But on a positive note, and you made a very compelling argument, I'm going to change and agree with you that is the most, in a positive note. Like, I know there's more WWE out there, but I think in terms of significance to what this year represented in wrestling, yes, I think that, that is the debut of NXT on television. It was the opening shot. Granted, AEW wasn't on TV at the time, but it was the opening shot in the Wednesday Night War. But like when you factor in DVR, they each pull about like 1.4 million viewers a week, but because everyone watches both shows. But never mind. It's competition, the closest thing to competition we've had in wrestling in a long time. This paid off a very long running storyline in NXT that really was the main story of the show for the bulk of the year. And that's a very good pick. And the match was excellent as well.
Yeah.
So,
honorable mention to Survivor. I agree. Two sides of the same coin here. Like, while NXT prospered, big roster sort of withered. And that, if you want to put those together, honorable mention to Survivor Series, where fucking NXT swept house however much of that was a push for them, and however much of that was just like, they're great wrestlers.
I mean, they put them over strong on Survivor Series as being on equal footing to Raw and SmackDown, which I think was important since they're on TV now.
Now I'm just reminiscing about all the weird moments, because that was the build up to Survivor Series. Also coincided with one of the first ones of that was the NXT takeover of SmackDown.
Yes,
which happened because of that fucking Saudi Arabia show,
which was headlined by Goldberg and The Undertaker, where Goldberg concussed himself, and I've never seen The Undertaker look so angry in my entire life. I've been watching wrestling since 2006. I've seen a lot of Undertaker matches. None of them have inspired the same amount of rage, which then led into the following pay-per-view, where Undertaker and Roman Reigns, of all people, teamed together to beat Drew McIntyre and Shane McMahon.
Jesus. Oh, what a shit show on the big roster.
These are all real things that happened this year.
Yeah. I still remember watching the fucking NXT on SmackDown. I was like, yeah. Fucking get it, NXT.
Yeah, that was a great show. Like, I hardly ever watched it. I heard about it. I watched it. I said to Peter, you got to watch this. And it was good. It was great even. And 2019, when we look at the sum total of 2019, this was a pretty bad year for wrestling in general. I mean, at least WWE's main product.
Yeah.
But when you go outside that, NXT prospered. 2018 was a strong year for them as well. Also a bad year for the main roster. It did not improve into 2019. Hopefully it improves into 2020. But overall, the bigger picture of wrestling, AEW launched, which created the most direct competition WWE's had in quite some time. Impact Wrestling found a new home. I mean, New Japan got booted off as a sacrificial lamb, but Impact Wrestling's on a major network. The NWA Power show kicked off. They're doing their thing. MLW continued to build momentum. They got a TV deal. Wrestling as a whole grew quite a bit in 2019, and there are plenty of places to get wrestling that aren't WWE. So even though this was a bad year for main roster WWE wrestling, I'd say overall for the business itself, pretty good year.
Here's looking forward to more bright spots this year.
Yeah, honestly, I think if we watched all the main roster pay-per-views, that have a much more negative outlook. But ever since we stopped watching them and focused solely on NXT,
it's bliss, baby.
I've been, as much shit as I give AEW for a lot of the stuff they fuck up, it is so much nicer than watching Raw or SmackDown, which is sad to say, because SmackDown, when we first started the show, was really good.
It's because they had Talking Smack.
They
got rid of that, and that was like the canary in the coal mine.
It really was. That was the decline. Honestly, I can trace
WWE's
decline back to the cancellation of Talking Smack. And I'm not even kidding.
That was the turning point.
That was indeed the turning point. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. Those are our award winners. Miraculously, Peter and I agreed on pretty much every award, despite never conferring on any of them. So that's pretty cool. Saturn Slammy tradition mostly intact.
Heyo.
And we'll be back later sometime with other shows and reviews. I don't know when this is going up, so I'm not going to say anything that will date it, even though you can tell when we filmed this because of our clothing. But that's neither here nor there. We'll catch you all next time. Stick around, subscribe to the channel, like or comment or do whatever it is YouTube does these days. I don't know anymore. I'm old.
Find us in the algorithm. We'll be there waiting for you.
With open arms. We welcome all new folks. All right, so until next time, be well, stay safe, and grapple like it's 1995.
And look forward to grappling in 2020.
We got 2020 vision.